Alright, we are recording via Zoom. Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Good evening. See everybody. I think we're all here. Yeah, I don't have too much comments. We have loads of other things, but that's, I think everybody knows now about Emmanuel's grandmother. Bless her soul, but Emmanuel was doing such a good job. So should we go right to the minutes item agenda? I mean. Oh, the
Yeah,
approval of
approve the
those
minutes.
two. Did everybody read those minutes over? Great, great. Okay,
I did not have any questions. I would vote to approve.
okay, I have some questions.
Excellent.
Neighborhood View needs an advisory board. To find out what stories they're gonna do, or,
It's part of our INN application. I did have it actually as a note to bring up again.
oh, you can explain it later. Because that was my other question, what the heck is INN?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like international news network. They're a high-end. Anyway, I've done a report on them and sent the
Uh-huh.
link in the past, but for us to have a membership with this group really boosts Neighborhood View's credibility. They offer a ton of different grants and assistance in citizen journalism and for small local news entities. So as part of a requirement for the membership to this organization, we have to have a board-led subcommittee that would be then made up of community members. And it's more about making sure that our stories are diverse, equitable, partisan, nonpartisan, whatever,
Yep.
that kind of thing.
Excellent, thank you. Everybody with that, so, yeah, I'm okay with that.
Do we need to do that today? Do we need to report? What's needed?
We can
for that?
talk, yeah, we can talk when we get down to subcommittees.
Okay.
It's on the list. I'm gonna go check the door.
Okay.
When you all vote.
Why don't you sit? I'll check.
I got it.
It was open. Why are we checking the door? The same door or different door?
Outside, the outside.
Some people show up and know that it's always locked, so they'll just stand and stare at the door. Back and try.
Well, we have another question, but maybe everybody else can talk about at the March meeting. The city member, did we vote on that? Is that just gonna happen? Or remember a city member at the board? Oh,
It's part of the contract.
but
So
where is it? Where's the person?
the contract is signed.
Like it hasn't been signed, it hasn't been figured out.
The contract is done and it's.
That I sent you? I did. It said city, yeah,
Contract is done. It's with the city to be reviewed right now.
definite needs.
It's with
Hogan, language
if
access.
Hogan has it, it's just up to the city to be like, all right, sign it.
Right. Brian, you motion to approve both ones already?
I'll second that.
Oh, I think what's the vote?
Brian approved and I second. You guys say all.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
Anybody against it? No. Anybody gonna not vote?
It
Okay,
goes
fast.
right in line with Robert's rules, by the way. It's perfectly done.
Approval. A resolution vote for almost, oh yeah, the CD accounts to have Tina, Brian and Emmanuel to be able to sign the CDs.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Yeah, so did we have questions about what it was?
What the CDs?
The CD, right? We've been able to access them. Everybody knows the story behind them.
They're old.
I don't know.
We've been able to access them because the name of the account was the old name, so the bank would let us redeem them because we're operating as for media arts and not involved in the access television incorporated.
Yes.
And the great thing about this resolution, and I want to thank Brian for keeping that for us. appreciated it. It's not just for M&T Bank, it's moving forward. It states that the board approves that the executive director, the board president, and the board treasurer all have access to be signers on our phone. So
Yeah, voice vote, roll call vote.
Does this affect anything? Like I noticed when I did a match for Uma, because Lizette did it for her birthday, like it's still MATB at like my work, like the like. I'm just wondering, like,
I think that's the official name under the their tax
Okay.
ID.
right, the tax ID
Malden
is
Access
still Malden
Television.
Access,
So
right?
our official tax ID name is Community Access Television for Malden. That's
Okay.
our actual official name.
Okay,
We now have a DBA certificate doing business as Urban Media Arts.
okay,
But moving forward, we can go to the bank and say, here's our DBA.
Okay.
Here's our tax, it all matches up, it matches up. I think we can actually file it with the Secretary of State. You gotta check. So then anytime anyone looks,
okay.
they'll see we're DBA as Uma, so.
We need a roll call vote, because the minutes have to reflect it, so probably gonna have to put the minutes with the stuff to the bank so that they can see that we all voted.
Do I have to list each name?
So did we get that seconded?
Ari, motion, who seconded? I say yes. Was that-
Yes. All in favor?
Oh,
we
no,
have to
we
go
have to
one.
do,
Oh, this one has to go.
okay, Brian,
My full name.
PPA,
that's the number, continue, or John,
yes.
continue, don't vote.
We can see them.
Ari,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes. Big thing.
I can say pass.
It passed
you-
unanimously.
did you vote?
Oh, it passed, yes.
Yeah.
I didn't,
And then you can write in the minutes, this passed unanimously.
Yes.
Some banks are a little bit precious about it.
Thank you, I appreciate that clarification. So,
Yeah.
the draft that I sent everybody, and I did just before. everybody, I sent a PDF of the draft. Lori, I already filled that out because as clerk, you're technically the one that has to sign it.
Yeah.
So before you leave today, you sign up on it and I'll take care of everything. They can take the non-approved minutes though, right?
They can take the non-approved minutes, yes, I believe so. Some banks will be precious about that too. We can always, after this meeting, you can send around the minutes for us to do an
Yeah.
approval, because we can approve things online. And that can be okay. I just know with other nonprofit organizations that I've had to do this with, some banks have gotten like really kind of like, "Yeah, it has to be exact,"
Yeah.
and you're like, we literally have $2 and we don't care. Like, you're like, "Well, what is
There's
wrong
that
with you?"
too.
But yeah, so just to make sure that it's, you don't have any issues when you go to the bank, and we don't have to keep coming back and doing these things.
In fact, I will probably take a copy of this and bring it to our Brookline Bank, which is our main bank, just so they have it.
And I said, like, they're gonna want the wet signature rather than like, they usually sort of physical sign rather than a PDF.
So I don't think I signed the original. I need to sign it.
It's got my name and Lori's name.
Like Lori's the one, that Clark is the one that they really go for this, like that's. she's like- For these documents, the clerk is always the one that they're.
Yeah, like she has to update all of our.
Yeah.
Secretary of State.
This is where she gets all the power and she can just go.
We get treasurer from.
I guess that does-
Some money, so we'll share.
Maybe already
I
know
just kinda
this.
know, I don't really do.
So currently, my signature is on the resolution, but Lori's is on the actual certification.
Yep.
That should-
And you just want to make sure you like write your signature, don't do an online signature.
Yeah.
Do that. It's called
That's awesome.
online signature.
Great work, team. So
And do it in black or blue. If it's in any other color, they get real precious about that too. And they give up my purple pens.
But it's Uma.
I know,
know.
I know, there are times I try to coordinate colors, but I think things.
Thank you, come on.
Yeah,
Budget is next on the agenda.
Yeah, the draft budget.
Well, so I thought it was curious that we put the approval of the draft budget for the financial report. So did you want to talk first?
Oh, I just did that based on what I'm in.
No, like, I just thought
That's fine. I'm happy to talk about finances. I
But
do it all day,
it's
every
up to
day.
you if you want to
What's-
go out of
what's-
order, what's the agenda?
So we have,
Okay.
vote on draft budget, then finance report. I do think it makes more sense to finance.
Okay, yeah, I just listed it the way I have it.
I'm gonna say, act a little differently and say that it's probably in its best financial shape since I joined the board.
Yeah.
Because we are closer than ever to having reliable recurring revenue directly, transparently from the city, from the cable providers through the city. I will withhold my suspicions of what was happening before and say that now we will have transparent payments. That being said, both of our revenues continue to come from cable revenues. And I would expect that to continue for 2 to 5 years probably, as we ramp up other things that are happening. When we look at investing in other revenue options, we have to be very, very thoughtful and careful because diversifying revenue streams to offset that cable grant. I mean, cable grants account for something like 92% of it. So diversifying away from that is absolutely critical. And I think that it's heading in the right direction. Personally, I don't think it's fast enough, but now that the grants are more reliable and expenses are down, we're in a place where I'm a little less worried, like there'd be a little more cash in the bank. But I think that this is a good place to take a breath and focus and really put the foundation into what we do. That doesn't mean that we trust our lawyers, right? It needs to be very thoughtful in terms of growing it back to something that is the value presence within the city, which I think that it has fallen back. So if you have so the copy of the budget was sent out, but I like to look at the statements that are generated for me. Cash flows, the biggest problem with cash flows was always that we had this huge accounts receivable balance. Accounts receivable is money that we are owed, has not been paid. That was basically, since this has been generated, it's been wiped out. And now we have no accounts receivable, which is great. And there are basically no other cash inflows that are accounted for on in the system, right? Systematically, like we don't see workshops, fundraising, and sponsorships are broken up in our.
Not in our cash flow. They are in the,
Our bank balance at the end of April was 81,000.
yes, it's at 205,000.
I don't hear the cheering that I
And
expect.
that's the influx from the city.
Yeah, so for my report, we got about 100, little, just over $180,000 from the city in this funding, which is about 25,000 more than I thought. So that's great.
180.
And we're owed one more payment, right? Before the end of the fiscal year, no?
I believe we are. I'm still trying to work all of that out.
Is it paid as
The
a month
quarterly.
end per quarter? Then it won't by the end.
No, but it should, it would count, that's right, it won't hit, but it would count for,
We should get it in
That's true.
mid-July.
Right, we receive in July, but we.
but it'd be
prior year.
reported for the prior
But
year.
it
I'm
would
just
report
trying
as
to match up.
accounts receivable. It wouldn't be in the bank.
Right.
Counting wise, that means that we're. It's an
Yeah.
asset, we don't have it to actually spend. Bank.
But that's the reason why the actuals are 457, 6.
Right, because we're not through the fiscal year yet. so-
Correct. Yeah, counting.
Yeah.
There's some errors in here,
Mhm.
but cash on hand, I feel much better about cash on hand.
You need both.
Yeah.
And having access to the seas would be nice as well. All good things that have been, that Tina's been working very hard on. I've been yelling. I don't know that I've done it much, but. I feel a lot. Otherwise, I don't know if there's anything of note, like all of our expenses are really tied up in people. Our equipment is aging, there will need to be some infrastructure investments once we figures out the direction it wants to go in. I don't know what that looks like, I don't know what's going to cost, but I do believe that part of that is the writer. It's going to help you dedicate funds for people that are coming into functions for equipment. So I'm feeling very optimistic about what's going to go into investments. So I think to celebrate without spending any money, that you all definitely can go ahead and do that. Oh, yeah, I'm like the knittering old granny, right?
I think this is the most positive Brian's been since he's got.
I know.
Yeah. It was
That's
really,
true.
the signing, I'll take an actual deep breath once the contract with the city is signed. Until the ink is on the paper, I'm still withholding my full celebration. Once the ink is in inked paper, it's done, and we have our first city employee attending this meeting with us, which I'm really excited about. I'm gonna hold off for another month or two. Hopefully by next month, it's there.
Let's just give it till fiscal year.
Let's hope by next meeting. that's okay.
Yes, I agree. Not what I can do. It's sitting in their hands right now. So I just don't think he's got time to get stuff been going on.
No.
No, he hasn't.
I'm not gonna go line by line to the P and L and all the other stuff, but we're in good financial shape. We have resources available, cash is in the bank. We're able to pay for everything and our expenses with the foreseeable. So did they have any questions?
I have a question, but it's not getting to the city member will come on once the contract is signed?
Yeah, that's part of the contract.
No, I know it's part of the contract, but like, that's not final, like, they're not coming until the contract is done, is what it
They
is.
could
When do
come
they
sooner.
start?
They could
That's
come
what I'm,
sooner.
that's what I'm,
Were
would
they a voting?
so, not as a voting member, I mean, like, until it's contract signed, probably.
To clarify,
Mhm.
it is the mayor's discretion of whether or not he wants to appoint a seat. It might not necessarily. Oh, so right now, currently, Ari Taylor is in city. She's a city councilor.
That's true, oh.
If you want to have that conversation with the mayor, it's up to you, but it won't happen until after the contract is signed.
Without derailing us too much, how is our relationship with the mayor's office? How much do you see how much are in my eyes?
I think you have a really good relationship with the mayor's office. I think even throughout, like, I think it's a decent relationship. I wouldn't be too concerned about that whatsoever, like,
About that, I don't know what that is.
about having a bad relationship.
But if we're starting to be appointed, person or?
I know,
So I think
yeah.
there's a lot of support from the city for
Yeah.
our organization. I don't believe there's any ill will there. I think there might have been some misunderstandings in regards to the contract drafts that maybe haven't been completely talked out about, but overall, I believe that I have absolute faith in the relationship.
So
Is no-
just-
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, just put a wrench in there. We would need to update our bylaws to reflect what our board membership looks like and I talked to Emmanuel about going forward, needing to update the bylaws in general because they are extremely outdated and we've never followed them anyway. But we, should really get bylaws that make sense for the organization and especially for what the makeup of the board is.
That's later, that's
Oh.
out of the.
It's on the agenda.
Yep.
Is it on the agenda?
Yeah.
One
How
other
did I
thing
miss
I'll
that?
add before I pass it off. Budget. Every month, just so everybody knows, we do the reconcile and look at all the spending that happens in all of our accounts, all the credit cards, all the check statements, everything. There's no official expense reporting system or oversight process in place outside of me eyeballing everything every month, and I'm fallible, and I can't always justify every cost that's made. I'm like, I see this is recurring every month, and I'm told that there's a review, but there's no real true expense oversight process in place. It's something that's been on my wish list since I first started doing it. It'll probably continue the same process for a while because I don't know if we have bandwidth limited to how we fix right now based on everything else.
I assume they're small dollars, or is there anything that you?
Small dollars
Yeah.
relative to the other thing we're spending on. This.
Right. So I know when I reconcile with small dollars.
It's something here and there, and it's usually something T orders, and I can figure out what he ordered. And tell Brian what he ordered. But to that note, we are moving to the online version of QuickBooks, so people will be able to put their receipts right there then, and Brian will have access to that as our treasurer. So that will help create a more linear reporting structure.
Just back to the contract. So do you think that the holdup is that he just hasn't gotten to it?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything the board can do to expedite it? Can we send a letter? Can we is that helpful or not? Or-
I assume once the city budget is out, right, because that's what they're doing right now. I mean, we don't have a school budget, I mean, we think we have. And we probably do, but they've been working on that.
It looks like by mid-June, like we will be discussing the budget June, I believe, 11th. And there's like a public meeting, Carrie McDonald, since he is the director of finance or the chair of our finance committee, he laid out a plan publicly at the meeting the other night. If you watch the personal privilege, you can hear it all. As to when, like, the budget will be completed and when we're doing it, so we'll probably have it to us. I believe in the next like couple of weeks, so probably the beginning of June, you'll hear back. That'll.
Is there any
that's-
issue if it's not signed this fiscal year?
No, this is just to remind everyone, sitting on the board that this has been a multi-year project for the organization and the city. So to know that the finish line is there, that's great. Okay. So I just want to have a little patience because I understand that there's a lot going with the city right now. And I've been working directly through our lawyer to communicate so that there's no confusion, misunderstanding. So
And I want to make it clear too, that I filed a conflict of interest, so I will not vote here or on the city council for any contracts between UMA and the city. So that is not a vote that I will take. I will abstain, and there is already a conflict of interest filed with the city clerk's office.
and I don't believe the contract with the city has to be a board vote. It just needs mine and Emmanuel's signature.
No, it shouldn't have to be, and it wouldn't be, I don't believe it would be a city council vote either. But just for full disclosure that I did that preemptively, just in case there was anything that came up, so that wouldn't be just like, checking with the state ethics committee,
Right.
so everything is above.
And I assume that since we've signed it, there's no more negotiating going on.
We have not signed it as of yet.
Okay,
The last draft was sent to the city with all the revisions they wanted. And so we are waiting to hear back if those revisions were acceptable and we can move forward to the table to sign.
so there's a chance. that-
But to be very clear, as I've mentioned in the last meetings, we have absolutely no negotiating. This is 92% of our operating funds and rightfully so, the city has every right to ask for everything you're asking for.
This would be amazing, like, this would be a massively huge feat if this is signed. I didn't know this existed when I became a board member. I discovered it. And like, realized that this was something that had been in the works for like years before I started, and I started in 2018. So this would be absolutely massively huge to finally have this in place. We were at risk for so many years of being able to lose all of our. So I'm extremely excited
To get the contract?
to get the contract
Yeah.
done. Yeah, I mean, it's huge and it protects us and, um, puts us in a good place to be able to do amazing things.
Did I hear
Let's hope
Brian
it
wants to do budget?
Yeah, I wanna go.
Yeah.
Ready, ready.
Well, as you know, you'll see there's a significant difference between last year's budget and this year's budget. That ED learns every single year how to do more. The other changes, obviously with the loss of board staff members last year, it really has got us in line with what we're going to be receiving or hoping to receive. So the numbers I'm putting here are pretty obtainable and sustainable for now. As I mentioned in my ED report, you'll note, looking at the colored version, the green, I prepaid our condo association fees for the rest of this fiscal year, which is why that number's so high. And then the yellow is when the sewer line blew up and we have to be reimbursed for that. All of that will be talked about at next Wednesday's condo association.
So the salaries, the 375, does that account for the new positions that were in the EU report? Well, the one new position, because one you are looking at funding with a grant. Correct, and one is not grant funded, but it's part-time. So does that 375 reflect
That the higher hourly employee rate does. I
Okay.
allocated in. So I'd like to move us towards more of an hourly rate system with these part-time positions, with these lower entry positions, and stay away from doing salaried positions to an extent. If it's a full-time position, like I expect the education coordinator to be, that will be a salary. But for these, for the civic engagement specialist, for a part-time media specialist, those things all will come out of hourly.
that? Oh, that's great.
For those of you that have more experience working with nonprofits, is it typical to have salary positions inside of a nonprofit? I found this to be a lot.
When I did a nonprofit, it was salary.
When I worked for Mystic Valley, they're a nonprofit, I was salary.
Were they working like 50, 60 hours?
You
Oh,
work
yeah,
as
I
many hours
mean,
as you need to.
Yeah, when you work for a nonprofit, generally, like, you're indebted to them, it's like being a public servant. Like you are, you're expected, there are certain extra activities that you're expected to attend. You're expected to go to it is, I mean, that's
Okay,
been
so
my
that's
experience with
consistent
the
with other-
Yeah.
your salary you work.
nonprofits. Yeah, when
We
you're
had
salaried,
hours that we
like,
had to be there, but you were expected to get all your work done. So really, yeah.
Are you finding that the work ethos of the employees here aligns with that mentality in terms of those that are salaried, that people will put in the hours that are necessary to get the work done?
What about the language access person? Is that gonna be a person?
The language access plan is coming out of our UP grants this year, so we'll hire a consultant. So we got grant funded money to do that,
Great.
but it is actually a requirement. Felicia and I have been working very, very hard to find grant funding that can accomplish our everyday needs.
Yeah.
And so we're starting to see the rewards of that. And part of that is we're able to use grant funding to hit our requirement for the contract and be able to add positions by getting funds for those positions.
so can I ask, the grant, and maybe I just didn't get there, the grant funded position, is that included in the 375? No.
I didn't want to plan for it in case we didn't get the grant.
Okay, all right, so that's not, I get it. So I didn't think I saw it in my,
The grant funded is the education.
yeah.
Is there a reason that next year we have projected general operating grants restricted lower than prior year estimates? Is that just to come more in line with reasonable numbers since we overestimated for last year?
And I'm hoping that what I estimated for this year at 610, both the checks that we've gotten recently have been higher than I anticipated. The first one was 5,000, the other one, this last one was 25. So until I get a full year's worth of payments, I don't want to put too high of an expectation on our table. Right? And consistently, it's been going down about 25,000 a year. So this is in line with what the history.
I've heard that we are close to getting bills passed.
That was in my
For-
report.
Yeah, we had a legislative update from Senator Lewis the other day, and he reported that too. And then I told the entire Malden Democratic City Committee that if they didn't have cable, they could still donate to UMA. So,
Thank you.
yeah. It was a shameless plug. But I did hear that we are somewhat close to that. Like, do are there any numbers that
It's in my report at the very end. I reported
what
out these
what we
34.
think it'll be?
No, because it hasn't gotten through committee yet. I mean, it got out of the committee and
Yeah.
now they're gonna be assigned a subcommittee for that exact reason. So look,
To look at like exactly what that
Yeah.
may be for each.
Mhm.
That
and they go off residence. So that's good.
big offer. So that's,
But just in case anyone's wondering what we're talking about, and that again is not on here because it just passed by the committee.
yeah,
The state is looking at applying a fee to streaming services, to 5% fee that would then be dispersed to the cities. And a certain percentage of that has to come to cable, the PEG. So it's to offset the loss of cable. But I'm assuming probably, I don't know if it would pass this year.
We would have to pass. Right?
It
Yeah,
might be
and
attached to a
yeah,
different bill.
That'll be
And
exciting.
his head's gonna blow up.
Mhm.
We'll talk about that.
It's okay. No, it's all related budget, so I'm okay with that.
So yeah, I just tried to be a bit more realistic. I think this budget is right in line with that. I did add funding in for our ascertainment and strategic planning process. We need to start planning for the next needs assessment that we'll need in 10 years, no, 8 years now. And that's a chunk of money that we have saved up, so.
Which one?
Right under total personnel expense, I put ascertainment strategic planning.
$3,000.
It's not high enough. It's not high enough, but right now it's in the budget.
Why is the capital grant from FEMA projects the same value if it was really only 5% to goal this year?
Because the city is holding that money. Once we have the contract and, once we have the contract signed, it is my hope that they will trust us to pass through that money as well. So that we can use our capital funds rather than asking for reimbursement out of our. That would be a huge win for the organization. Something that no ED has been able to accomplish is allowing us to have the capital funds to buy what we need to buy without having to wait 6 months to get the funds back. We'd also put it in a money market account and get interest on it. Part of that contract agreement is to develop a 5-year CIP plan, capital improvements plan. We need to report on everything we purchase, but there's that relationship and that trust with the city that they're willing to have that conversation about us to do that. Does that answer your question? So for the next slide,
It's an optimistic number.
no, it's actually a true number.
Is it?
It's a true capital grant from both cable providers. There for the next 3 years. That is the funds that the city will get.
But the city's not obligated to pass it through us, right? It's at the city's discretion.
Or it just takes a long time.
It's my understanding that the city does not have to get stuff.
Yes, they do for capital expenditures.
But they have to use it for a community meeting. It doesn't have to.
That's why we're getting the contract. So right now, any funding that they get from cable companies has to go to, I mean, they could start their own, right? They could say, Ron, we're now gonna be community media and we're gonna do this straight out of City Hall. That was the reason that the contract was so heavily important is Everett does that. Everett
Right,
doesn't have.
and they get that for the operating grant. But not-
Same,
But it's the same,
It's the-
yeah,
okay,
it's
the same.
exactly the same.
Okay, cool. More money.
Yep, more
You
money.
were wrong.
Those are good problems. I'll take those
We need to
problems.
vote on.
We need to vote.
Well, does anyone else have any questions? on the
Yeah,
budget?
under capital expense, the other is a big number.
Because we don't have a capital improvements plan right now. So that $160,000 is for when we make that plan, that's what. So that seems like, we know we've got to upgrade our equipment for the new HD channels that we're getting. I don't know what those numbers are yet. I haven't talked to the city about the plans for that. We know, through the recent SEC filings that we have to adhere to some pretty strict closed captioning and language access stuff. We don't know how much that's gonna cost. So it's basically just a place for projects and equipment.
But there's no roof repair for the first
Yeah.
time in 20 years.
Explain.
Let me tell you
Why- Don't say it out loud. You know, what's not about the roof.
If I had to repair this roof this year, I think I might lose my mind, but I did mention in my report that we are getting, we're applying for a grant to do the interior. Evidently, my ceiling is about to fall on my head in my office.
It's a bit cheaper to hire people to go when it rains.
Hourly or salary?
Hourly. Motion to approve budget.
I'll second. All in favor?
Is this roll call?
It's not a vote.
Since it's the annual budget?
Or
Do a
the
roll
budget or
call.
draft budget.
No, this would be, it was a draft until.
Until
Okay,
we
we
vote.
can make it real.
I would do a roll call. I'm not exactly sure on the budget, but I think generally when it comes to finances, it's always a roll call. And it doesn't hurt, right?
Yeah. we can roll.
I vote yes.
Yes.
Brian?
Mr. Brian Oswald.
Good, John?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Eden? Yeah. Yes. So the vote should happen.
We have a budget.
Yay. Before July.
Was that for me?
You're next.
I'm next. Anybody have any questions on my awesome report that I took 4 days to write?
There's so many
And,
things.
I like the money part.
You like the money part?
I like the scooter. That was-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a chance to read it.
Who was that? Oh, who was the little album? That I put in the email.
You would have to ask the board. I don't-
Yeah.
There's so much, I was like, okay, this,
Yeah.
I'm gonna start from my read this.
yeah. But you will read this, you will need to read this too.
I thought it was a really good report. Yeah. I appreciate all of the links so that we can like look at things. I like pictures, so it's not just words. So,
Excited for the staff. Staff. Both needed, they're very thoughtful.
I have to say, in the fact that they haven't been updated since 2009, I was like actually shocked that,
You and me both.
yeah.
One, I was shocked that I found them. And two,
Were they on the, in the one, like, because as I'm going through the boxes, I found the one from 2002 and there was like a stack of them. I'm like throwing these away. It's like so old, but.
I have to admit, I think everybody on staff is a little bit embarrassed that they haven't been updated in so long. So everyone's really excited to kind of jump in and update it. I said I wanted it to be a lot more visually engaging. So maybe we don't do it like a document, maybe we do more quick guides, and then we have in the back end of it, we have and do all the legalese in small print. I actually designed something very, very similar in Burnsville. So I've been meeting to bring that with, to bring it in to show staff. Because it's just got, the front end has quick steps, you know, how do you get a membership? What are your responsibilities, that kind of stuff. And then on the back end of it, it's like a little booklet. It's got all the books. And then you have to, and then everyone signs it saying they got it. So that,
Right, yeah.
and this came up because we had a controversy of reporting in here and through his baby. So, and Chris was so great. He was like, if you could just give me a quick list of what so I can tell our audience. And I'm like, okay, number one, no smoking in the facility. And number two, like, no eating and drinking in this area.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really our rules. You know, and then we're not doing like Fight Club in here. or something. But even that, you know, depending on how
Right.
safe it is.
It would seem like a simple ask was like, oh, we don't have anything since.
And it has literally been I went home and I told my wife, so this has literally been my experience since I got here. Like, what about this? I don't know. Let me go down a rabbit hole and find out for you. That's just why I was super excited in my report to say that our Secretary of State website is fully 100%
That was
accurate.
also
That
very
was great.
exciting because
Frank was
That's
on
been a
there as
few-
president.
it's been a few years
Yeah.
that I've been asking, I
Yeah.
mean, can we, like, that's
but that was a whole thing. It took me, and Lori a while to get that done. And then, working with the bank, and now there's a snafu with the bank, and like, I've lost my online access because Emmanuel is now the admin. So we're trying to juggle all of that, but every time we get these little steps, it's like, okay, now
Yeah.
there's a process. We can do this.
And some of the stuff in the state, like I had to call for something because it didn't match what Tina said. I just want to make sure I was doing it right. They're very helpful, but it would be good if their stuff matched what we had to do.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't put, like July 1st, I had to put June 30th.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, which is technically the end of it.
Yeah, and I just had to make sure before I messed up.
And then, like even today, I was on the phone with the IRS because I get letters from the IRS and it says Carol Braun Cox, and I'm like, I should probably.
Yeah. Or maybe should know.
And then like last week, every time I would try to access our bank account, I'd have to text Ann because it was her phone associated with our bank account. So I got that switched over to the executive director's because not that this is happening, but if I ever leave, that cell phone will stay here with the organization. So,
Right.
that makes sense. Yeah. What else? Anybody have questions on things that I mentioned as,
At the risk of bringing up another side conversation regarding the contract with the city, is there anything you need from the board as we're sitting today regarding support, getting the contract signed? And if and when they actually schedule a meeting to sign, review, if they have a whole bunch of changes, are you able to make or I assume Emmanuel will be with you at the signing of the document?
should be there at the signing.
So it is my preference that if there are changes that they're blindsiding you at the time, which is a possibility, that you be able to make a decision if it's spot to sign or not sign. We don't have leverage to make changes on it. And we can request, but we don't have leverage, right?
I don't anticipate any issues.
It's and I want to know if the board agrees with me, it is my preference to get it signed expeditiously.
Yes.
And if there are changes that are made.
Well, that was the directive I received 2 meetings ago from the board. So I moved forward with that directive. So I'm doing whatever I can to get it signed. It's just not in my hands right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't think there's anything additional outside of making sure that Emmanuel can get to the table to sign with me. on the day.
We have a grant right now. And we're not had a side conversation. Grant with the board that the revenue generated this year, how it's going to ramp up the expectations.
Let's see.
I think it's great. I love that it's a position. I think I'm really optimistic.
My interest. So I will say, yes, I have ramped up Felicia as our fund development specialist. I've moved her hours up to 30 hours a week. She is an hourly employee. We were reviewing funds that we've received now since her start here, and I think we're close to all the different grants that we've received. We're well over $1 million in funds received, which I thought was incredible.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Over half of that is capital funds, which means that they have to go for a very specific thing. But we are now working on how do we expand that into operating? What do we do to, alleviate some of the strain of having to depend on the city? And so we came up with some big picture events to potentially do. And then I've asked her to, now that she's been with us for a year and a half, she had originally started a fund development strategic plan for us. And while I found it very eye-opening, I realized that it just didn't know enough about our organization and what our needs were at the time. So now that I've asked her to go back to that plan and start really pulling things out that she's seen that we can consistently do and do the low-hanging fruit and the long-term solutions. One of our long-term solutions is the education coordinator position, where that person will do kind of what Amanda was doing, getting that relationship back with the school district, use programming and finding ways to fund that or have people pay for it themselves. But the other part of it is to help us build the business plan for the workforce ready that we need to, the next 2 years. And that's a big piece of it. So is that where you were
The work study program?
Workforce.
It's called a Workforce Ready Program. It's, I believe it is the best course of action for our organization to stay sustainable within our community. We will never go away from being a community media center. But we do have the option and availability to certify individuals in video production, editing, audio and video tech stuff. There's a whole variety we could do. And,
And when I talked to Felicia about that type of thing, she said there's a ton of grants.
There-
So it's like
yes.
there's money, lots
there's
of
a
money
ton of money.
to apply for specifically workforce ready program. So
So my intention is to build that business plan over the next year with Felicia's help, and hopefully if we get this grant to hire the ED coordinator, that person will help too. And so that next year we can apply for Senator Warren's federal funding to implement the workforce program. And that means we can hire certified teachers, we can figure, and by that time our feasibility study will be done. So there's a lot of big picture stuff happening, but it just happens.
Well, there's steps you need to take, I imagine, like you said.
Yes, well, we gotta get quarried,
Show.
there's like, and I was just actually talking with Osa this morning about this position I'm looking at. I'm not looking for just somebody that has production background, I want specifically somebody that's worked within the school district, has created curriculums, has a strong understanding of how education works and what we should be paying attention to, because there's nobody here that has that background, right? And I think if it's gonna be a huge piece of our organization moving forward, we need a strong plan.
It's gonna be up to our- to them to get built out.
Yes. I'm excited about that,
Mm.
right?
Thank you.
I get nervous though. Schools have hard enough time finding. I just wanna,
Yeah.
right, like,
But also,
I mean, there are open positions and they don't.
fill them, but
Yeah,
also there's
fill.
people who have left Malton Public Schools who are looking for jobs. I know a teacher who's left and, you know, like, I'm like thinking, what would be good for this position now, you know,
Yeah.
like, it's just like people leave and they're looking for other jobs. It just, the uncertainty scares people.
My niece,
Well, especially in education. I
Yeah.
do feel like there are 3 pages consistently on the Malden Public Schools website that are unfilled. Consistent, like it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm.
It's consistent with other cities. so that's
yeah,
right.
but so, yeah, and you have teachers leaving because they want something different.
Yeah.
Like I said, my niece is a fourth grade teacher in New Hampshire, she would love to get a job like this.
Yeah, and this is such a different culture too, than the
Yeah.
school.
Right.
It's same idea, education, but
Are we gonna pay more though? Cause I'd be like, give me the benefits of school and because, you know, you're competing against grade
So the
back.
salary range is at 55K a year.
Okay.
So that's, and to me, that's a high-end position within an organization.
Okay,
Um,
right.
So the expectations are gonna be high. I'm not looking for somebody to, I'm not looking for a square peg to fit in a round hole.
Right.
Right? I will keep this position open until we find the right
Okay.
person.
And I think there are people too who have gone to school for like audio, video, like production and also have worked as like subs and things like that, that this might just be the right fit
Okay.
for them to have both of that background. And I know from like working in the past, like I've taught at the Y and I've taught preschool, like just, it's great for a little while, but there's only so long that you can really be in that environment between the administration and, I mean, it's a job you take home with you every day.
so where are you at with this,
With,
with getting that person?
I haven't even started writing the job description.
Gotcha. But
Because
the-
honestly, it's a very hybrid situation, and I think I'm really excited to kind of parse out how this is gonna look. Because it's a long-term plan, if we get the grant, it's a 3-year grant. So then we're gonna have to figure out in the first 3 years how we're gonna fund that position over, right? So hopefully it's tuition, hopefully it's more grants, we don't know. But I wanna have a strong starting point, and so, yeah.
Question. So the funding that we get would be 55K a year, and that's what we use just for the salary. But then we're also like the benefits and like the taxes, so we're actually spending a little bit out of our operating expenses.
Yes.
Would it make sense to start the person at 45 or 50? and be able to have that extra, or do you think it really makes sense?
It
for
will
this
depend on the
position?
applicant. I think the salary range between 50 and 50K or 55.
Okay.
And I can see keeping it 55. If you're gonna then charge for a class for kids, right, you could make
You could,
the
then-
charge,
yeah,
make it up in terms of benefits or whatever with
And
that charge.
And to clarify, what, another reason I'm so excited about this role is that this person will not only be focusing on the relationship with the school district, the youth, helping develop this plan, but it's also, they're gonna take over our internship program. And I want them to develop, workshops here at UMA that are unique and a need in our. So it's really kind of, the educational part of it is really, yeah. So I would like to start them off at a higher salary if their experience and, enthusiasm would match that.
Is that the grant that
Right.
needs to be in by June first?
June 13th.
On mission and drive revenue, I'm excited.
I'm
That's perfect.
No,
Right.
this is
Yeah, I'm
great.
very excited.
Should make it mission based. Whoever comes in that way, they sell us, like, for every student they bring in, they get like an extra $1,000.
That'd be an interesting concept. I don't, could we do that in a nonprofit?
yeah, I mean, if they were, you could do that with like 1099 employees, where you could have them like commission based, like based on, whatever. Yeah. It's all in the way you sell, how you're doing it and why you're doing it. It's not, you know, the money all comes in.
Okay, that's a good thought. It could change a little bit. What else? A couple things that weren't in my report, and I know we'll get to for subcommittees. We know where we are with that conflict of interest statement? Did we ever get that done? I know Emmanuel was working on it. And I'm only asking you because I know that you guys have been doing kind of some of the organizational
I
stuff.
thought we were done. That was a while ago.
Yeah, it was quite a while ago. I think it's still when Barry was on the board.
Yeah, it was, I'm seeing one from January. Bylaws.
So I just like to note it in the minutes, please, that we do need to finalize that and get it on our website. It's a part of the INN application process, membership have that. And I think the draft that he sent was kind of a template he got up online, so it needs to be like worded more to our organization and
Send it to
specific.
me.
But these three finalists and what?
Send it to me.
It involves money.
I just, the conflict of
That's what I
interest,
heard. I heard that, and I just send it.
it needs to be finalized, voted on, and so we can get it on our website.
Let's get it done by next board. Yeah, it's a board vote.
It does have to be voted on.
Let's get it done by next. Somebody put on.
Motion for it. And then everybody's gonna have to do it.
Yeah, you could even do a written vote on it, honestly.
No, I mean the conflict, the pages of conflict of interest. We need that as a board member.
This is specifically towards neighborhood view. You have to have it posted that. There's some reason.
Yeah.
I did the work like 3 months ago and now I don't.
Yeah.
Because things happen.
Let's see, yeah. A motion to pass, is it?
No, we don't need any motion.
Oh, but you need a vote.
No, we need,
Not until it's done.
I mean, you'll have to show us the statement, we'll vote on it next week.
Oh.
Yeah. I'll send it to you. And then when we get to subcommittees, I have comments. Other than that, anyone else have questions? I said it was a long. If you look at the very bottom of the report, that is where I reported on that, those bills that are coming out on the state level.
I do have a question, but are those things you want us to call about?
No,
Oh,
there's no action needed, so
Right.
this is great. I mean, Mass Access did a lot of the work to make sure this stayed prominent. Senator Lewis has been an incredible champion for us, as well as, there's another one, I forgot his name.
Steve will
Is
choose.
Altrina? Donato.
It's not, no, it's not even local, it's somewhere else
Oh,
in
yes,
Mass.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. No,
No,
it's some, it's a different.
it starts with an M though.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But anyways, so I have a really strong feeling, but we shouldn't be depending on federal and state, right? Or even city. At some.
Mm-hmm.
And you might notice I didn't say anything about a strategic plan, because I'm getting there.
Are you doing this? I know in the past, we've talked about you doing a strategic plan yourself, because you've written them before. And I know also in the past prior to you, we've hired an agency to do it. Is there gonna be like some sort of hybrid way of doing that? And, just to throw it out there, I believe our last strategic plan and the money we paid that consultant was around $20,000. So if Tina takes some of that, that's like if you do.
I take $20,000.
No, if you write some of that work, so that we're parceling out and it's less, that would.
And how long ago was that?
That was just a few years ago. That strategic plan ends December of 2024.
To be fair, part of that was the needs assessment and everything else that was
Okay.
required from the cable.
Yeah.
practice. That's why. it's
Right.
high.
Okay.
That's why I put that line item back in the budget, because we need to start swirling that money away
Yeah.
for the
Right.
next time we do it. It is a requirement through the cable. A little goofy. The city negotiates our cable franchise with both the cable companies. But we have to pay for all the work that's required by the cable company. So, and you have to have a third party do it. So
Is that something that you could be a part of in the future? Be a part of negotiating? Is that what you're-
ideally, yes, I was, to be completely honest, floored that the executive director wasn't included in those conversations. It's a little bit of a, we've done this before, we know what we're doing sort of thing. I'm hoping that the relationship will be a little bit better, that I will have a seat at the table next time.
Not to include you, just at a seat at the table too. That was.
We'll see the contract.
Yeah, let's get the
Yeah,
contract.
exactly.
Yeah.
One step
But
at
I
a
mean,
time.
at that point, if we can help do that, because I think that's, you should be there. You should be there. Yeah.
That is
So-
a strategic.
So I'm gonna be starting to outline that shortly, work on that. And then, I just wanted to give the board an update. Personally, I'm unfortunately suffering from an infection from my, surgery on April 2nd. That is not healing, and I'm not feeling well. And I'm going in tomorrow. There's the potential they might put me in hospital for the weekend, just to get a hold of this infection and get it out. I've been trying to be as present as possible, but it's taking its course. With that, it's pushed everything off. So I can't start treatment, I can't have ankle surgery, so staff is 100% on board and understands what's going on. Was that's been great coming in and helping us out, and kind of keeping things coordinated. So I have full support here on the team and confidence that we can continue to move forward. But just giving everyone an update. What's going on? Just, like I said, if I ask for something like the conflict of interest or we talk about subcommittees, the bylaws, if we're gonna get started on those. I didn't know if we update the operating rules, if we have to have a board. I think in the bylaw that says the board has to vote on this.
I know what the policies and procedures, the board had to vote on them. Those were updated when I first joined the board, and that was one of the first things that we did. The board did have to vote. I believe they would with that as well. I mean, I don't see any of us picking at it so much that it's not gonna pass.
Sure.
So, and I think sometimes it's just better to have the board was aware, they knew, they voted on it. So the onus is on the director for stuff, so, yeah.
And I think the only other thing might be, I would potentially be applying for paid family medical leave during treatment, so I can be intermittently out if need be and not full-time vacation and sick time. So might need signature. I don't know. That's a lot.
If there was a situation like that, hopefully not too drastic or whatever, but if you feel like you're gonna have the support, people will step up and
Yeah,
do
I feel like
what's needed.
staff is 100% on board and understands, the biggest relief to me is knowing that this place is open and being taken care of, so I don't think there's a single person on staff that doesn't understand that and hasn't stepped.
Well, I gotta say, this was great to see your report.
Thank you.
It's very thorough and I thought.
Both express was-
What if we abstain?
Oh. Right through the heart.
I'm sorry.
It's brutal.
I mean.
I don't know if we've ever adopted our own, like, our adaptation of Robert's rules. Because I know in some, like, if we actually had rules that played out how our meeting was supposed to go, we could say that you're not allowed to abstain. We're not allowed to abstain on city council. You do it at the very beginning.
Somebody took advantage of it, but yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I was not aware of that until like one time I was like, I'm gonna abstain, and they were like, nope, but I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Are we good on? Now, the new payroll provider, right?
We have, I'm very happy with them. We are just, continuing to, work through some of the IRS stuff, which is what came up today, because they'll start taking over, doing our quarterly reports. I did get a phone call from Paychex today asking, hey, what's up? And I was like, I broke up with you because y'all never return phone calls, so I'm done with you.
Well, they return phone calls, when you stop calling.
Right?
Right.
The service we've received has been exceptional. It's pretty much on par with what we were paying for. It's a little $20 more, but we get so much more access online. Staff now has to request time off. Our hourly employees submit a time card for approval. So a lot more transparency, a lot more accountability. That can-
What's the name of the new company that I was?
It's called Commonwealth Payroll and Charge.
Paychecks is like national.
Paychecks is fast.
Yeah.
And has been around since the inception of this organization because.
Yes.
Trust me, I know, I've been going through every like time sheet you have, it's like, as I'm trying to organize those boxes, I'm like.
We're
oh,
required by law to keep those
Yeah.
forever.
Really?
Yes. Which is why they're getting digital.
Yes.
One of my first concerns. Compensation. Been in emergency for so long, it's like some company. I'd like to, by 2026, we offer some form of benefits to
Full-time.
full-time employees. So anybody that's worked 40 hours, on 35 hours.
It's
State-
35.
State is technically 30.
Yeah,
I thought
Really?
it was 32.
I thought 32.
Damn Democrats.
Which is why when I bumped Felicia up to 30, I had to offer her health benefits.
Did you accept
I
that? It's so much money when you look at the back end of health benefits and
much.
how much it costs to employ an employee.
Yeah.
Like, it is so much money on the cost of the company that like, it kills you.
Yeah, you hear that we're only paying like 20%, and you see what we're paying.
General white collar benefits, and then you wouldn't have to worry about. taking vacation sick
Yeah.
time, because long term, I would really like to see economic place for better compensation.
Streaming money, here it comes.
Well, it's long term. This is,
That's-
You said
well, it could be
10
long.
10 employees would have that kick in.
I think it's at 10 where you get.
Has to be 10 FTE.
it's at-
I don't know if it was prior to you coming on the board, but we did have some exit interviews prior to Tina coming in, that stated benefits as a reason why they were absolutely leaving. And it wasn't necessarily even just like costly benefits. It was just things that we never looked into as a whole, like state programs that we could have signed on to that would have kept certain employees, and that was one of the things that they stated in their exit interview. That was really tough to watch. Like, I got sent the video of the interview after, and I was like, when it's something that could be fixable, and there's a solution for, it, it's hard to watch people.
I was just money, sometimes it's just.
Yeah, no, I mean, I see it in real estate all the time. It's not just the amount you're gonna pay for a house, it's the terms that you're giving them, and it all adds up. It's all important.
Whoops.
I don't think we need it. Oh, we're gonna talk about subcommittees. We don't have to talk about it tonight.
What do you mean?
Sorry, Rowan.
I would wanna wait for subcommittees for Emmanuel since he put them together.
It's another month.
And my ask has been since Mary was president, that we get these defined and started. It's completely up to the board, it's your subcommittees, but I do need to say that we need to add the neighborhood view subcommittee to this list.
Negative view?
Neighborhood,
Oh.
and part of the
I'm gonna be
recommendation
fair of that.
that I had was that we have one board member chairing each one of these outside of the executive committee and.
I'm sure the finance committee.
Right. And Anne has, we still need a board member to chair the neighborhood view subcommittee, but Anne will be a co-chair, much like Felicia is on the development and events committee, so we'll have the staff there.
And you need this for grants. to have a
Well, to
subcommittee.
finalize our membership. I'm not saying this needs to be done tonight, but I
What
would
needs to
love
be
the
done?
tie on your priority list.
What needs to be done exactly? What we need.
I think you need to establish who's chairing what and who's
Well,
doing
so
what.
the subcommittees, they should be the first person
Yeah,
on
we,
the
I
list.
got the list of
Should
them.
be the chair, and there may even be like a little note. Those are the ones that are set, and the ones that don't, the actual subcommittee can elect their chair. And we don't, and
But-
then,
But my recommendation was to only have one board member on each subcommittee. So the ask was the chair of that subcommittee go out and find community members to be on the
so
committee.
we can't do that until we change our bylaws. These
Oh,
these
okay.
committees are set in our bylaws. So, and this is something I know we've talked about before. Yes, that is something that we need to do. We put up the nominations information, we ask people to come in, but there isn't enough community engagement like that we've been able to do that, and we also need to change our bylaws. So right now, these are board committees more than, you should have probably 1 to 2 board members on each committee regardless as to whether or not we're also adding.
I'm seeing a community outreach committee exclusive. to that. The community
So I went off of
Yeah.
the current bylaws of what committees from.
We added a few additional.
Yeah.
That we had talked about, and then we added those, which the president can add an ad hoc committee at any time. So some of those are, and the committee assignments are up to the discretion of the president. So I know,
Do you know, I think I saw a marketing committee on there, but I didn't see any people on it.
because I think that one we put in kind of hiatus, because originally you and I talked about it and you wanted that to be more Felicia led. So we kind of left that up. And then whoever would want to join that committee, we could open that up to.
And I don't even know if it's a need. Like, I guess what.
Oh,
I
no,
would
sorry,
say-
OSA for marketing. I was off on.
I guess what I would say is, the personnel committee should be meeting, or executive committee should be meeting about my review, and then the
We are.
bylaws committee should be
Actually.
meeting. And then
Yeah.
Felicia has expressed interest in calling a development events committee meeting next month. And it should be noted that, my wife Jenny is on that committee, as well as Lisa Nicole, I want to say.
Yeah, because that is a UMA committee, that is not a board. Committee. So you can have members of the community on there because you can decide that, but for board specific ones, the personnel committee has been meeting. We had a meeting yesterday. Emmanuel was not able to be there, obviously, but Jonathan and I still met, and so we are in the process of getting all of that together and getting that ready. It's going to be late, but it's
Sorry.
happening.
I had
Yeah.
2 years last week.
I know. Well,
Yay, me.
because I had gone over everything with Mary and I read down, I put everything, there's a whole list, there's a timeline, there's everything. It should have started months ago. It didn't start months ago. So then I had to re-go over everything with a manual. And now we're at the point of getting it, like really go. So,
You do have staff with the whole committees as well.
Yeah.
and
I
it's on
believe
finance.
Yeah.
I actually emailed Manuel and asked to have her removed from that. She doesn't really do anything with our finances anymore.
Anyway, okay, we
And
could put Felicia on that.
so I said you could add me
Yep.
to it. Yes, Felicia would like to attend, but it makes more sense to have me on it because I'm the one that's overseeing all the finances now.
And just, I know, I think I had sent this out and probably there's a description and in all of those packets that I had sent out, I don't know if the new members got any of that information, but there was a description of each committee, expectations of each committee. And there was also the, like the makeup, I think, of the committees.
I think you sent that out like very early on. Did we send it?
Yeah, I mean, it's all in the BOD files,
Oh,
like
okay.
all of that is,
Okay.
is housed, where it should be able to
Okay.
be accessed. That was part of what I had set up.
Okay.
Because there was nothing in place prior to this where the board could access.
Yeah, it's all on paper in a box. I saw those too. It's, yeah.
Welcome to mine.
So.
It's like so random, like 2002 board responsibilities, like literally just happened. Very.
Yeah.
Right.
So I do think those should be there as well, and it does state that anybody can be on any committee. So if you feel like doing an event and joining the events committee, it's just the ones that are assigned, those are the voting members. Anybody else can like go and show up and have an opinion and do work, and that's totally fine. But the assigned people are the voting people. And that goes for any committee within my boards. And then once we tweak our bylaws to make sure that they are more current and not from 1987. I mean, they have been updated a couple of times, but it hasn't been significant updates. I think all that we've done. Once that happens, then you'll be able to add in members of the public. And hopefully at that point, like our community engagement will be
But are they still public meetings where public is allowed to attend, but not-
always. Yeah, unless
That's
you're
what
going into, except for personnel and, except for the personnel committee. Because it's a personnel committee, it is always an executive session committee because we're not gonna talk publicly about TS review. And that is really the only thing that they need for unless there is something else that we feel needs to come up. If there was a disciplinary action or a request from the executive director, that would be another thing.
Okay.
And then that report back would be in an executive session. So executive session, the possibility was on this because originally we hoped we would have something for executive session. And
And I just put it on every agenda.
yeah, and it's good to have because if you have to go into it, you know.
So the question was, what do I need from the board? I think, doing the work on the bylaws and the personnel is great, thank you. Continue to volunteer, seeing all of you come in and do your various tasks and helping out in the community has really been a bolster for staff morale. For our organization, getting to talk to you about your experience with our organization, I think is important. So if you get an opportunity to come in and help out or go out and help us record something or work the front desk or,
You said
Work
it's not
on the
Saturdays, not Saturdays anymore, right? That's
we're not doing Saturdays anymore. It was a beta test. We did get a lot of interest to be open on Saturdays, but we just can't staff it right now. So we're gonna try to beta
What
that
hours
again.
are we?
We are open Monday through Thursday, noon to 7 p.m.
So does our staff work 40 hours a week?
Yes.
They're just working outside of those hours?
Yes.
Okay.
Night hours.
That's, I mean, that's the only thing for me, those are not hours. that I'm involved.
Right.
It just,
okay.
it's not.
But like an example is Karen came and grabbed a camera for us and went and recorded something for the CCC because we didn't have enough bodies.
Is there notices going out saying we need a body for this, or is there a
Not
way
really,
to
that
get?
was kind of a one-off,
well,
but there
I
might
don't know,
be in the
right.
future.
I think it's kind of like I was talking to Osa about the community calendar, like the Malden events thing that you had created, like once there's a community calendar and like it's all in one place, otherwise you're sifting through events. So.
Staff. I can pick up the camera. But most of the reports, so my schedule permits, like I can pick up a camera and do this for an hour at some city event. Right, would be helpful to use for resource in terms of who's available for what. when.
Absolutely. Yeah, because we don't want to be poking at you either, you know, like, I appreciate that you can come in when you can come in to sort through dusty old videotapes, right? Like that helps. Emmanuel showing up at the Mass and Resort Show, all of those things are seen by us and the community, and it means a lot to us to have that support, not just at this table, right? So it's really up to whatever you are comfortable doing. I'm just encouraging you to do it, you know, and saying thank you.
So back to the first started here, I used to get like almost maybe a weekly email probably from Josephine, just saying like, these are things coming up that we could use volunteers at. And I found that helpful.
Well, also just sent out, well, the newsletter was in your thing, also just sent out the newsletter, but it didn't.
Well, this
That's for
is-
volunteers. but
This was
I see what
active
you're
for
saying.
specific volunteers, like,
I think
hey,
that would
graduation is
help me
coming
too.
up.
Having
Yeah.
something that says, here's what we
Yeah.
need, can you help
Yeah.
us? That would
And
be.
then when,
You know, maybe Lizette, you want to take a crack at that?
I'm very good with newsletters, let's do it.
Well, at least just to the board and be like, hey,
I-
we've
that's a
got,
good
you know,
idea.
we've got 02148 recording this week or next
Right.
week, and
Yeah.
they can
Is
use the
anybody
body.
available? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
and even,
Okay.
even like Ron once in a while would message, hey, one of your daughters available to do this?
Yeah, and
So
we're
you-
working on that. We're
Yeah.
working through share to do that with our members for volunteering, because they're all asking for more experience and we're not using that feature
Yeah.
as much as we should be. But that's for members and users, not so much for board members. And it also kind of depends, I mean, we sent out a couple times the list of things we need help with, so it's sort of what you want to help with. you know?
Yeah,
So
so
it's hard to be definitive in my ask when there's so much.
well, and also, like I said before, I'll be the point person if anyone's like, hey, I got a few hours like on Thursday, and then I could talk to Tina or whatever, so it doesn't bog you down, you're in the middle of a zillion things.
And I know we're not quite ready for the youth to do this, but if it came from, like, Jocelyn, my kids would be interested, but if it came from, say, Macy, oh, I'll do that for Macy. But sometimes from sending it makes a difference.
It shouldn't be like that, but.
No, but just a general thing, like,
I have a question, like, who runs the UMA Facebook page? And
Oh, can I be taken off of that, please?
Oh, am I still on there? Please get me.
so,
I'm still getting messages and it's like login isn't, but thank you for reminding
I
me.
believe you can take yourself off.
You can take yourself off.
I'm pretty sure you can.
It
take off
said that
your-
it would
your-
delete it. So I didn't want to mess with it. So I'd rather someone else just take me off so that I don't mess.
and then I was gonna ask, like, I know it's really boring and not as exciting as community events, but could we add the, like, boring city council meetings? Not boring, they're
We do,
actually very
yeah.
interesting. No, but not to the
Isn't that
UMA
what you
page.
said?
No, like,
Oh,
you, to the UMA page, like, since, are they recorded by?
Well,
UMA?
there is a
Yeah.
schedule, but it's not right on that front page. Like, I know when I was first looking at UMA when I first, years ago, it
What
was
do you
like,
mean schedule?
like, there's an April schedule, or there was a May schedule where you can actually click on it, it'll show you what the education channel is showing it out, but, you know. it's
I'm
like,
saying, once it's been recorded, like a school committee
oh,
meeting,
put it on the
actually,
front.
cause I share them like on the Baldwin Public
yeah.
School Families, or
actual
somebody will
link.
put them on.
oh, so.
Like
politics.
happened
So are you-
yesterday.
I
and-
think that should come from UMA saying, hey, we recorded this,
Oh.
like, look at what we did, cause people share
Yeah,
them,
so
they
if
watch
if
them.
we post it saying it's coming from Oma versus that.
Oh,
So all of our council, all of our city meetings,
Right.
public meetings are on our YouTube page.
right,
I don't know that it's really come to our attention to make like a social media post about them.
well, that's what I'm asking, cause I saw that Wakefield.
I
but
put
don't-
them all on the Ward 5 page.
Or is
like
there a way to
on
make it
my-
on the front
Yeah.
page of just the UMA website? I mean, I don't know,
Oh,
I don't know.
If we go to YouTube, we post it from there, it just looks like a YouTube link. But if you post and we share, it will come from Oma versus.
It would just be advertising. for
Yeah.
UMA.
Yeah, I mean, it's good because with social media sharing it, I don't know if we have a Reddit too, but Reddit has been huge and that's been like a whole other stream of people that have come out that I have found that is really untapped and they're not on.
They don't
Facebook,
even
they're
know
not
that
on
stuff is
social
happening,
media.
they're like, I didn't know this was happening.
No, and like,
Reddit,
there's a whole
There's a
Malden
Malden
Reddit that
subreddit.
like,
There is?
Yeah.
I joined one of those.
it's, I have no clue, actually, I have no clue who they
Oh,
are.
no.
no, it's all anonymous.
It's all
It's
anonymous.
another like Facebook, but it's not.
But
Oh,
I
it's
guess
not.
my point is that, like, I'd never realized that that James was doing that work. That he's at the city council meeting for those 3 to 4 hours, sitting there, and that is really the backbone to the
Right
meeting,
now,
that
they're
meeting
talking
being
about laundry.
viewed by the public. And so I kind of agree with Eden that like, if there's any way to say like, Uma's doing,
Somebody can
presented by
do that,
Uma, it's like, because I thought it was a city thing. I really did. I thought they handle it.
Community
It's
electric.
a
Well,
city
I
thing.
think
And
it's one of those things that get shared because people talk about it. They,
Yeah.
I mean, they're like
Yeah.
so into
Involved in
seeing like
gaming.
what we get.
Yeah.
Cameras never.
All right, look, right now, there's relative recommendations for.
But I'm just saying it would be nice, because I know I share it, and I really, I mean, as much as it has my name on it, I don't care, but I feel like it would be nicer if it was from Uma, because like. We have this huge meeting of all the things we're going to do, but we do this, like, there are videos that are recording, and maybe we don't. Find that exciting, but it is happening and it is consistent, and I find it valuable, like, as much as I don't.
I think
say
maybe
that.
we'll do something like I did back in Burnsville, is we would, as soon as the meeting was over and processed through YouTube, we would share the video. Saying, check out tonight's meeting. if
Yep,
you missed it
absolutely.
live.
Perfect.
So we can. pick
That's
a
all,
time
you
to do
don't have
that.
to
That's
tell me what
easy.
happened, just give me the date, and that's it.
yeah, because you watch it, I watch it.
Right. Yeah, and it is valuable, and I do appreciate
It is, it's just
To,
helpful.
to your point about the fact was like, why isn't it branded Uma? It's the way that the city council control room was set up. There's no graphics generator in there.
Oh, I know, yeah.
So there's absolutely no way to brand the video,
Ah.
which I'm actually, that's one of my top priorities. is to
Yes.
get the content time. It's absolutely ridiculous to me that there's no graphics.
Okay, that's
Right, because
Can we do it afterwards? Do go in there.
I think
it's a lot of
That's a
work.
lot of work.
Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you go off of, once they get off the consent agenda, if you did 2 days to consent and then, so anything on the regular agenda has to be identified and
Right.
well versed in public.
Okay.
Oh, but we are
That's
working on
right.
it. That is the conversation I want
We
to
do
have.
have a large consent.
18.
I didn't understand.
Yeah.
Guys, and thanks.
Sorry, yeah,
Yeah, we only have
What else
one
are we on?
minute left.
sorry, I didn't mean.
No, that's okay. You reminded me of something
So we're
that,
gonna table subcommittees for right now.
I don't know what we're taking on. Subcommittees are really, so what?
Do
Why are
you
some,
feel that we need to call a special committee to come back to discuss that before the next month's meeting?
just do it.
We can do it on Zoom.
So,
That's completely up to this board.
What do we need out of subcommittees? I thought
we
we couldn't
need a
do it because of
manual.
bylaws.
You know, we
we have to do
need
the bylaws.
a manual to pick somebody to be in charge of each subcommittee.
It should be determined which board member is chairing which committee.
Can I see your sheet of the committees?
Manual.
In the neighborhood meeting.
Thank you.
And then
And
you
what
have to
and
add
what you had said was the first person on each one
The-
is basically.
Yeah, I
the-
think
that-
it was the
that
first
chair.
person on each one,
First one.
it should be the chair. It
I'm
makes
sorry, do you
sense.
wanna?
Yeah.
Why can't we just do this
Well,
now?
that's
I don't get it.
Emmanuel's not here and I think it's best to have a board. president
Yeah,
during this
okay.
discussion.
Right.
It's fine, as long as there's movement on the bylaws committee and personnel committee, that's
Yeah.
really the most
Is-
important.
Is not doing this now going to hold up any sort of revenue generating activity?
No.
Okay.
The bylaws are important.
And motion to take.
And then, oh, the other thing was, I was gonna say, you were asking, how to support, and this goes into like the nominating committee, the fact that we still have 2 appointed seats open, that we need to fill out committees.
That was the last thing I had on my thing was,
Yeah.
board recruitment sucks documents. That's what it says right here in my notes. We have not been doing,
We're now on record saying that.
we have
It's
not,
official.
we have not been doing a job, and I say this for me as well, I have not. been.
We are supposed to have a lot of members, just so you know. We are supposed to, that is, we had increased it, and we also talked about increasing it to add a youth member,
Right.
which I still think would be incredibly helpful.
I think it'd be beneficial to have liaison seats, essentially, school district. I wanted the city to have a liaison seat, but that's here nor there. And it should be noted that technically we would have to keep the seat open if in case the mayor decides to appoint.
We can always make them, yeah,
Are we
Right
limited in the
now, we
numbers?
have, I think,
you,
8 people.
no, so originally when I started, we had a 9-member board, we added 2 seats because we
Right.
wanted to ensure that we were always keeping a diversified board, and we figured the more members, the more ways we could get people in different, my idea was eventually having like seats for different community groups, much like the Chamber of Commerce board works, where it's like, oh, we have an UMA seat, We have a seat from Chinese Cultural Connection, so we had different point of views throughout the city. That's what, one of the things that we were working towards, was being able to diversify the board in that way and grow it. That's why we wanted to have a youth seat, we wanted to have like, those could also be liaison seats, that wouldn't be the worst idea ever. But they could also be full seats, there, I mean, we could really, either way, I think it's a good idea to have information,
I mean, we don't have to hash this out now. Was there a written plan before on recruiting more board members?
That's
Or
part of
email
the
it.
nominating committee, there's the application online
Okay.
that we put on, there was all of that information, yeah.
Can we add that, can we add that
You can
to
do it.
discuss
Yeah,
next meeting?
next time, yeah.
I think it's important,
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we all are saying the same thing when we're out in the community about who UMA is and what we do.
Mhm.
If there are still questions or you're not quite sure or clear on something, feel free to check with me. We are a community media center, so first and foremost, we want to train our community on how to use our resources and to actually have them use them. We're trying to connect our community in different ways and partnerships. That's why that was added to the report this time around. We do a lot of different things here. Citizens journalism, art galleries, we've got our art salon coming up. Yeah, and so making sure that when you're speaking with community members, you're saying the same things we're saying, right? When you get questions like, you always get the question, well, why isn't women doing this? Come down and talk to me. Send them my way. I'll tell them why,
We need more board.
Or just tell them they could do it.
And
I don't know, why aren't you doing that? That's a great idea.
What else do we need to discuss this?
just wanted to get a heads up, there's, we were chatting about 2 potential fundraisers, one of which I have an opportunity, a connection to potentially get the suites.
I looked it up, yeah.
Yeah.
I have them.
Okay. So Lizette's helping me with that, it's not a little research. We have a potential to be able to get a corporate suite at Fenway. And we were talking about potentially trying to do kind of a higher end fundraiser where we sell seats or we sell tickets to this event. And then we actually maybe partner with a trolley company to get them to take us down to Fenway. With the corporate box seats and all of this kind of stuff and the tickets and that kind of thing. So we're just doing the research on that now. We were not able to do our Moroccan fundraiser this year, but we are starting to timeline out marketing for it for next year. So we're looking at potentially,
That's the base, that's that schedule.
what's that schedule?
The blue or the cheapest is 2 things in August is the timeline
We had talked about
you had talked about, yes.
Great.
I don't know if you explained, because I was out. of the room.
Again, this is just in the baby stages. I was kind of waiting for some research. So we just thought we're trying to utilize some partnerships we might have in the community. We can get the box for free.
Yeah.
So that was a big piece of it.
Yeah.
And if I can, with a new trolley company in town, if we can build up that
And The
relationship.
cheapest box, the cheapest suite is 2,700, but it's like, it serves like 10 to 15 people, and so that's a really possibly good fundraising raffle idea, but it's a lot for money wise, which I know you don't like, so if we
I
can
don't
get
like
something for free,
Right.
that's
Yeah,
even
and this
better.
would be more of, okay, we've gotta fill it with 20 people.
Yes.
We got 20 tickets available for this price. Get your tickets now until they're sold out, sort of thing. As a fundraiser. And we would just put that price for the entire day.
That would be
Have we
fantastic.
talked to Fenway whether or not they would donate the box?
They generally don't. They'll give you a discount, but they won't generally.
And then you said the cheapest is 2,700.
So
Yes.
I'm confused, where did the idea come from? Just like this would be a good idea for a fundraiser, or is somebody
Yeah.
donating a box? or
Well, I have a
something?
buddy that potentially will donate his box.
Oh, I have a buddy.
Who knew?
So a box would be donated to us for use for fundraising.
That
So if you
sounds-
That's
that sounds
different,
better,
right?
doesn't it?
Yeah. Yes,
You like that one?
exactly.
Okay.
I just wanted to find out the cost so that, yeah.
So we have,
Do a relative.
we have rules of the board can't do this, right? I mean, the board can do this, but we can't be the winners, right?
Right.
No, it's not a raffle prize.
Okay.
I would
No, you
not
would
do
literally,
The first time, first served.
you would literally buy a ticket to the event, like
Yeah.
one of our events.
You could buy.
The other thing I wanted to bring up is something that Ari and I have talked about in the past, is doing like a Valentine's Day prom do-over. Like at the Mix 360 over in Bowling Alley, or potentially Anthony's, because it's the place. But it would kind of take place of an annual day.
And I did send them a message already to Mix 360. I didn't know about Anthony's and she contacted me back when I'm in next. I'll check out.
So
I don't know how much.
it is possible that we could get use of a school gym for this.
It would be fun,
That would be fun.
For free.
Yeah, for free.
which I like free.
Who doesn't like decorating the gym for
But
prom?
we just thought it'd be kind of a fun for the thing. We can offer media art
I
aspects to
did
the
not think
evening.
you were gonna do that. That was one of my Ward 5 events.
Oh.
Are you doing it?
I was gonna do it in February,
You
I
get motion to
do.
close?
but,
Yeah.
but
Oh, you
Motion
want-
to close?
other events, I'm getting goats.
Oh,
Didn't
yes,
go.
we don't need an
We're
executive
doing,
meeting.
we're gonna do goat yoga.
So,
Yeah.
I can't motion, please.
I
You
just
can't make
did.
any.
Brian
you
did.
did.
Brian was
Second.
close.
Seconded.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, for oppose. I was gonna oppose. I wanna say.
I'm all sorry.
You have your bag on.
I
right
did.
now.
I just really always want to oppose.
He's like, did I shake?
I'm a Marine, it's really hard to shop.
So once upon a time at the library wine tasting, they did offer up like some chef to make you a meal out on the library patio.
Yeah.
And I did bid